Hello ladies and gentlemen, I'm False Between. My name is Cattoons. Today I want to talk about a Half-Life mod that I really far from the hype train when it first came out, but a mod I feel like I should still cover to this day. When this mod first came out like 6-something months ago, everyone was praising it and, well, talking about how really unique of it is. I was really planning on playing it, but I just didn't, and the mod I'll be talking about is Raising the Bar Salvation.
Ravenholm rests for no man. It is time to leave this town behind.
To give some basic information first, if you don't know what Raising the Bar is, well, specifically Raising the Bar Redux, it's a mod in the works that currently has a lot of potential and has really great progress. The last chapter they left off us on was Ravenholm. The mod we're going to be talking about today is a spin-off of that franchise, with the other one that's planned to come out is more of a Portal Half-Life 2 beta aesthetic kind of game that isn't out and I don't actually care as much for.
Hey, quick update. Right as I was editing this video in a little bit, I took a little break. It looks cool. It's coming out. Cool. It's cool. And pages. We got a lot of information. It's cool.
But this mod, I truly think is one of the greatest Half-Life mods ever made. To its story, to its atmosphere, and to its great soundtrack, we will be talking about this mod. Basic premise of the mod has you playing as Father Gory. Right after the events where he tells Gordon to fuck right off, Father Gory decides that it's finally time for him to leave Ravenholm, a town that rests for no man.
I have cried out to thee, and thou hast heard me. Ravenholm rests for no man. It is time to leave this town behind.
Thing I will mention about the Father Gory voice actor, they did a fantastic job at mimicking the original voice actor. Another thing I would like to bring up is the difficulty selection. One, because they're also just written in ways that Father Gory would describe them as, which is cool. And two, there's no easy. This mod is decently challenging. And not just that, the hardest difficulty is Deathless, which I don't need to explain. The mod is a decent challenge. I wouldn't exactly call it unfair, but there's some points that got on my nerves a good bit. I don't know, maybe I'm just bad at games, or I wasn't finding supplies enough, because I pretty much played this whole game while knocking on death's door the whole time. I find it interesting for some reason the church and pretty much most of Ravenholm is on fire. It wasn't on when we last saw it on Redux. I'm gonna take this more as a metaphor for anything of Father Gory's mental state, or just because fire looks cool and that's the reason why they wanted to make a burning church. Who the fuck cares? All you start off is with your handy gun Annabelle and your kick. Your kick is the most valuable thing in this whole game, and I'll probably mention this a few times during the video again and again, but the soundtrack and art direction is really well made. I believe the soundtrack sets the mood really well. Maybe not all the tracks are necessarily great to listen to, but they set the tone perfectly. And pretty much from now on, all the music that's playing in the background should be from the mod itself. There's some amazing new details they added that aren't built in the source engine. I like this part where the zombie was pretty much reaching out so desperately trying to get you. You can kill him if you want. There's no reason to, but you can. One of my favorite details that this mod has is those random staircases that lead to nowhere. Specifically when they're in the churches. I know it feels kind of odd to give a mob props for like literally giving you a pathway that literally leads to nothing, but specifically just because churches often have these really old architect that pretty much is useless now and doesn't serve the same purpose. A few times I've been into a church, I've noticed this, and I found it really cool to see the mod developers put this in, and if it's not intentional, well, it's still cool. When we enter into this church to finally get our supplies, Father Gory has a few things to say, and we also get our new gun, the Nail Bomb. This is from Opposing Force 2, quote-unquote. As I mean by that, I mean Half-Life 2 Episode 4, which is pretty much going to be one of the expansions of Half-Life 2. Valve kind of canceled it out of nowhere, and I still cry about that. I don't exactly know if this is meant to be exact reference to the game that was canceled, but in that game, Father Gory cooked up head crabs, and here, he mentions that he will finally have a decent meal when he gets away, confirming that Father Gory eats head crabs. I don't know if it's a reference, but I like this detail either way.
When I have made my escape, I shall have a decent meal.
Now that I'm finally done talking about some things that I positively like, now I'm going to bring up something that I don't like about this mod at all. I don't like pop-ups. I don't like them in Half-Life games at all, and I don't really like them in most games, period. I feel like it just shows pretty much a failure in level design where you have to directly tell someone, hey, this is what you need to do, instead of just communicating it properly to the player. Sure, I may have a problem when it's in other games, but especially in Half-Life, where the immersion's meant to be fully there, and so seeing just pop-ups here just takes it out of it. The only mod I was okay with doing this was Entropy 02, because at least that mod made like a canon reason behind seeing these pop-ups. But either way, I really don't like seeing this trend I'm starting to see of Half-Life modders and adding this detail. It's not the end of the world, but something I would prefer wasn't here. In case you're wondering how the nail bombs work, well, it's literally just the mine from Half-Life 2 Deathmatch.
Hold on, bitch! Don't laugh.
A thing I really liked was how many areas that we revisited from the original Raising the Bar Redux. I can point them out all day to you, but I think it would be better off if you just play both mods for yourself and notice them on your own. Plus, I don't believe it's really insanely bad at all, but I do think there's issues with the environment where it feels like there's the correct path and it ultimately leads to nothing. I feel like at least they should offer supplies here. That was a huge criticism I have. A lot of these exploration paths ultimately felt like they gave nothing. Most of Half-Life 2 with these external paths would give you a supply or combat or whatever. Sometimes these areas just have no reward, especially for a mod that pretty much I was barely getting by half the time. I felt like this would have been a good idea to reward exploration. But who cares? It's not that bad. The little bit of story we have filled in is where Father Gory, well, meets these free people that he needs to burn. It seems like he knows them specifically while crying out for their names, giving them a chant as he finally sets them on fire, setting their souls free in his eyes.
I commend you to the light, my beloved Jacob, and wish you peace from this place of chaos. Go and join your family in the place of glory. Flee from the desertions of the Demiurge.
Which, like, not judging Father Gory, you still are doing a good thing, but like, there's still a human somewhat under the head crab zombie, so they still somewhat feel that. I feel like just maybe a bullet to the head is more merciful, but
I remember your true face.
But I don't know, Father Gory is not really the most stable person, so I don't think this matters. I don't know, all we know, this could be some weird form of baptizing. We eventually get this reveal of Father Gory's wife or girlfriend, named Annabelle, which honestly, I don't think there's any official material that states for Annabelle's name being after a former loved one, but in my head, this will be canon no matter what.
Annabelle, I wish not to hide from you, my love. But there is nothing more I could do.
But I really do like that lore detail. I wish I could say I like this segment. I do, but this fucking zombie had to ruin the whole thing for me. It's very obviously giving Father Gory some idea of, well, not just that he's mentally unstable, but obviously survivor's guilt. This detail of adding Father Gory seeing his dead wife and just these hallucinations works really well, and I really like it. It fits him as a character. I don't believe it's anything out of like that, oh, he killed his wife or anything like that. It's out of the sense that he feels responsible for the death of her. Probably the free people specifically that he is baptizing are people that are important to his life. There's only one new enemy variety from the original Raising the Bar Redux. Outside of just normal zombies, fast zombies, and poisonous zombies, we have baby head crabs, which scared the shit out of me the first time I saw them. Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention Gonarks still exist in this too. I found myself running from these enemies more than I actually found killing them, which I believe was the intent. This mod isn't as action-packed as, say, Half-Life, insert any Half-Life mod. It's more survival horror and slower paced. Even though the mod's more slower paced, it's not a long mod at all. It'd probably take you maybe 2 hours at most. As much as I really don't like items being highlighted, I gotta admit this one segment where they set it up properly was kinda cool. One of the Annabelle segments I wanted to point out is one that they mentioned they had children. In a weird way, Annabelle talks about Father Gory in a sense that, well, he's happy that the children are gone, hating their smiles and all that. This could be me reading too much into it, but maybe Father Gory has some idea of, well, being glad they're gone. Maybe he didn't want children. This is 100% me reading into it. It very much could just be Father Gory making up how someone sees himself.
You pretend they're still your children. You hate their twisted faces. Their smiles turned into grotesque masks.
I pray my efforts will bring you comfort as I lay this town to rest, my dear.
As much as Annabelle feels great, and I don't 100% get it's the gimmick that you're only meant to be really using one gun, I really did get bored of using it. I know, very subjective of criticism, but maybe just one little gun they could add to make it more diverse. The Nell Bomb really doesn't add very much, and honestly, I barely used it throughout the whole playthrough, mainly because I couldn't find any. But pretty much just rinse and repeats for a while, until we get to the ending segment, which is alright. I think it's one of the more downfalls of the mod, but it is really cool that this is where Gordon Freeman started at the Raising Bar Redux beginning, and this is where Father Gory's journey ends in Ravenholm. I think that's cool and a really fun throwback. You have to pretty much get the boat ready so Father Gory can finally leave this town. It's alright for the most part, not complicated. There's just a little bit too much enemies. That's not a big problem, but there's not enough supplies to justify these enemies. Once again, maybe I'm stupid, maybe there were so many around here that I just didn't know of, but it made these combat encounters really hard to deal with. But after all that segment, when you get the boat working, we get a cutscene. Blah 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 about Half-Life things, but cutscenes, not something I would really recommend to ever put in your Half-Life mod, at least when it's meant to be taking place in the Half-Life universe. Father Gory does their, once again, fantastic voice acting of their last chant, hoping that one day they will not need to rely on the strength of their beloved Annabelle.
Annabelle, I carry you with me. I pray for the day I need not use your strength.
The scene overall is not bad, and I think it's well made, but I would really prefer if it was just in first person instead of being a third person cutscene. No, not a huge deal, but something I would have preferred and I think would have made the mod a lot better. And one little thing, I don't know if this is downright intentional, but I like to imagine it is. After the credits roll, we get to see Ravenholm after the fire. It looks quite peaceful for the most part, well besides being a ghost town. But there's no zombies in the light. And also, I know how I brought up saying that I see the fire as more of a metaphor of Father Gregori's mental state, and this is just playing on to my theory, with the town finally being more at rest. Once again, I'm probably talking out my ass and just reading too much into stuff, but I'm gonna read it like this. The lack of sound makes this scene really powerful to me. Now, I don't know if this is meant to be exactly an after credits scene, because if you hit escape, the menu shows up. And this is meant to be some new menu background. I don't know if this is just a bug where the menu didn't show up. I don't know. I still think it looks cool either way. My final thoughts of the mod is I think it's fantastic. I would recommend anyone who has 2 hours to kill to download it. Of course, before you download it, be aware that you are going to need Raising the Bar Redux 2 for the mod to work. The voice acting was fantastic. It's also one of the examples I would pull in my head that I believe voice protagonists can work in the Half-Life universe. Games like Half-Life Alyx, Entropy Zero 2, and this game have shown that it fits in the format. I'm not saying Gordon should talk though, by the way, I'm just making...
Fuck you.
But I truly think this mod is very unique from all Half-Life mods, and I think it's, well, very special, and something I would recommend everyone to check out. Thanks everyone for watching this video. Please like, comment, subscribe if you wanna. If you don't, then fuck you. Have a good day, everyone. Bye.
As we drive past the last exit to home, I am waving goodbye, and I might be sleeping in the ditch tonight, but it's alright, 'cause whiskey